Ambulance service. Is the patient breathing?
No.
They're not breathing?
No.
Okay. And who was it we're talking about?
Lexi, she's 3.
She's 3. Bear with
Yeah.
me. Okay. So she's unconscious and she's not breathing. So help has been arranged, okay?
Louise Porton came to the public attention in 2019 when she was convicted of murdering her 2 children as they got in the way of her sex life. Between the 2nd of January and the 1st of February 2018, she attacked and then killed her 2 daughters, who were aged 3 and 17 months. Suspicion soon fell on her when she was noted to show little concern at the unexplained deaths of her 2 children only 18 days apart. A police investigation found that she had made a number of incriminating internet searches at the time, attempting to find out how to successfully murder her children and cover up her crimes. At trial, she was convicted by unanimous jury decision and sentenced to a minimum of 32 years imprisonment. She is imprisoned at HM Prison Foston Hall. Between August 2016 and November 2017, 22-year-old Porton and her children, 3-year-old Lexi and 17-month-old Scarlett, lived at an address in Willen Hall, near Walsall, where the landlady spent more and more time caring for the children as Porton socialized instead of looking after them. The landlady later testified that Porton would do whatever she could not to have them with her. Porton claimed to be a model and spent a large amount of time on dating apps and offering men sexual services for money. The children's father did not have contact with them and had never met Scarlett. Porton would later admit she found that parenting was not one of the easiest things to do. In January 2018, Porton's daughter Lexi Draper was admitted to hospital several times for illnesses which doctors could not explain. She was first taken to hospital on the 2nd of January suffering from breathing difficulties, before being taken again on the 4th of January, both times being saved only by the work of paramedics. Her symptoms were consistent with deliberate airway obstruction, but doctors at the time did not consider this suspicious and believed that her condition arose from a chest infection. While her daughter was in hospital, Porton showed little concern for her child, sending nude photographs to a photographer from the toilets in the hospital and offering sex acts in return for money. A few days after Lexi had been discharged from hospital, Porton called 999 reporting her daughter was ill again. When the operator asked if the girl was breathing, Porton simply replied no. When help arrived, it was found that Lexi had been long dead before her mother had even reported her unwell. Despite the girl's death, Porton again showed little concern about her daughter, spending the next day accepting 41 friend requests on the dating app Meet Me, and also messaging men on another app, Badoo. She messaged one man, "My little girl passed away yesterday," as they chatted about tattoos. She also spent the day arranging to meet with men. A couple of weeks after her daughter's death, Porton was heard laughing in the funeral parlor by the funeral arranger, who said she saw her using FaceTime speaking to a man. Only 18 days after Lexi had died, and only 2 days after Porton was heard laughing at the funeral parlor, Porton's 17-month-old other daughter suddenly and inexplicably died. Porton had called 111, the non-emergency NHS line, reporting that her daughter was unwell, yet despite claiming she thought the condition did not seem urgent, the toddler was found dead and completely lifeless by the time paramedics arrived 9 minutes later. It was again discovered that the child had been dead for some time before Porton had called for help. Doctors again found that the death was consistent with deliberate airway obstruction, and Porton again showed little concern at the sudden and unexplained death. Doctors could not find any natural reason why either of the children, let alone both, had died. Porton claimed Scarlett had flu. Suspicion soon fell on Porton, and police then discovered that she had made a series of incriminating internet searches throughout the month of January that indicated she had killed her children and attempted to cover it up. It was found that she had searched about death, breathing, and drowning when she had originally admitted Lexi to hospital on the 2nd and 4th of January, and also researched how long it took for bodies to go cold up to the shoulder. After Lexi was then successfully treated and discharged, Porton searched, "Can you actually die if you have a blocked nose and cover your mouth with tape?" and how long after drowning can someone be resuscitated? Police said it was clear from the evidence that Porton had twice tried to kill her daughter before eventually succeeding on the 15th of January. The evidence clearly indicated that the two children had died as a result of someone deliberately interfering with their breathing, and that person could only have been Porton. Porton was brought to trial in 2019 for both of the murders and found guilty by unanimous jury decision. The judge described Porton's actions as evil and calculated. The judge also noted that Porton had then only called emergency services when she knew her daughters were dead, saying that I am left in no doubt that you delayed calling for an ambulance until you were sure she was dead and could not be resuscitated. She was given a minimum tariff of 32 years imprisonment. She showed no remorse for her actions. The children's father, Chris Draper, released a statement saying he was broken, commenting, "Why did Louise do something so evil to our beautiful daughters? You are their mother, the person supposed to care for them, protect and love them. They were just an inconvenience to you. How could you do this? I sit and think day and night and I can't understand why my two little girls were taken away because Louise wanted to sleep around." In February 2020, there was renewed media interest in Porton's case after her mother, who had reportedly been tormented over the death of her grandchildren and had disowned her daughter, was found dead. The death was not considered suspicious and was believed to be a suicide. Nicola Priest, 23, from Solihull, England, was sentenced to 15 years in prison for killing her 3-year-old daughter Kyla Jade in 2018. It's reported Kyla Jade interrupted her while she was having sex with her boyfriend, Callum Redfern, 22. The mum was living in an apartment in Birmingham, England, when things took a terrible turn. At her sentencing hearing, Attorney Justice Foxton summed up what happened that night between Priest and her boyfriend, cutting short her innocent daughter's life. On the evening of August 8, you, Redfern, went to Priest's flat, Foxton said. The two of you went to have sex. Kaylee wanted to stay up and play. Kaylee was sick more than once during the night as a result of the severe beating, Foxton continued. After the alleged incident, Kaylee Jade started vomiting. The vomiting was the result of the severe beating you were both responsible for inflicting on her, Foxton said. No doubt irritated by Kaylee crying, asking to be let out, it interrupted the two of you when you wanted to have sex. You lost your tempers and it is clear you were joint participants in that assault, he added. You both knew you had seriously injured Kaylee. He then accused Priest of not immediately seeking medical help. A prompt call could have saved Kaylee's life, he said. You both lied repeatedly during interviews. You and Redfern were equally responsible, you had ample opportunity to raise any concerns. Kaylee was very vulnerable and you were in a position of trust. You did nothing to summon help. After she was sentenced, Redfern's father branded her an evil mother, and said, she doesn't deserve kids. He also claimed that his son was misled by Priest and got caught up in it. In one disturbing example of Priest's cruelty, a text exchange was found from July 24 in which Priest wrote to Redfern that she was gonna kill her, because she keeps leaving the living room or going in the kitchen, so I've smacked her for dirtying her nappy. In another example, neighbors below Priest's apartment heard a loud banging right before Kaylee Jade burst into tears. The neighbors claimed they could hear Priest say, I'll just say she fell off the bed. Things only got worse when Priest and Redfern got together. Police believe the level of discipline she was subjected to became increasingly forceful and violent during Priest and Redfern's relationship. Redfern's father also claimed that Priest would sometimes refuse to change Kaylee Jade's diaper and would tell her you can just stay in it, while she went outside to smoke. The Daily Mail reported that footage caught by closed-circuit TV showed Priest and Kaylee Jade just hours before the fatal incident in an elevator at their apartment complex. Priest seemed disinterested in Kaylee Jade as they rode the elevator, checking her phone and the mirror but ignoring her little girl. In court, Kaylee Jade was described as a happy child who died from serious chest and abdominal injuries. But a medical examination conducted after her death found past injuries that indicated even more abuse, including broken ribs, lower leg fractures, and a broken sternum. Experts likened the girl's wounds at the time of her death as to those of a child hit by a car at 40 miles per hour or from falling 3 stories onto a concrete floor. On August 5, both were convicted of child manslaughter, with Priest receiving a 15-year sentence and Redfern receiving a 14-year sentence. Priest was also found guilty of child cruelty relating to previous injuries found on Kaylee Jade's body, but Redfern was cleared of that charge. Priest will serve 3 years to be served concurrently for the child cruelty offense, and both must serve 2/3 of their jail terms before they can be considered for release. In the footage shared on the mom's personal page a month after Kaylee Jade's death, it showed her hanging her head in shame and mouthing along to a song where she apologizes to her parents. "I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. I know I messed up bad," she mouthed. "I should have done better." In other videos on the page, she paid tribute to her daughter, including one video where she wrote, "I miss you. Rip my darling, Mommy loves you, Angel. Everybody deserves the gift of life." Kaylee Jade deserved to show the world who she could have been and what greatness she could have brought to this world, Kaylee Jade's grandmother, Debbie Windmill, told the Daily Mail. "I could never stop staring at the smile on her beautiful face. I loved every moment watching her develop to nearly school age. Preparing to buy my first grandchild her preschool uniform was something that filled me with such happiness," she added. "I couldn't wait to see her in it, but this opportunity was stolen from me in the most brutal of ways," she continued. "Nanny will forever hold you in her heart."